Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. Welcome into another episode of the Strive Sports Podcast. It's episode number 12, season finale. We made it. We made it. My God. Look, man, if you're new to the show, first rule of business, got to pay the bills. First and foremost, follow me on all my socials at Keegan Hartman1 on Twitter, at Kigo Amigo on Instagram. Likewise, Strive Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Like us on Twitter or follow us on Twitter, what have you, at Strive Sports Mo, at Strive Sports Productions via Instagram, and at Strive Sports Mo on TikTok, even though I never post on TikTok, but I'll throw it out there. Also, huge shout out to Royal Retros, man, for being partners of the podcast. If you've not got your Christmas list done, then what are you doing with your time? Head on over to Royal Retros. You can go ahead and tap the link in the description on any of your audio channels or YouTube. And when you go over there, check out, use promo code STRIVE, STRIVE, save yourself 10% off your next purchase. All right, enough of the free shout outs. Let's get into it, man. This is the last one. I got to keep on hitting the home runs, dude. And we're in it on a high note here. Christmas came early, okay? So as you can see, you know who's on screen. I don't even have to introduce him, but I'm still gonna give him the intro he deserves. Joining me today, one of the most electrifying wide receivers to have ever played in the USFL. That's not just an opinion, that's a fact. Two-time rather USFL champion with the Birmingham Stallions. My next guest has rapidly grown into and cemented himself as one of the most coveted names across the spring football landscape. However, my esteemed guest is no stranger to the spotlight, especially when it comes to the gridiron. A four-star wide receiver out of Mobile, Alabama. My next guest, Marlon Williams, would attend McGill Tulane Catholic High School. Shout out to the Yellow Jackets, man. In his senior season with the McGill Tulane Yellow Jackets, Williams nabbed nearly 990 receiving yards off of 47 receptions, all while tabulating 22 touchdowns in his senior season. Williams ultimately would go on to rank as the 54th overall best receiver in ESPN's top 300 recruits for the 2017 recruiting class. Likewise, Williams would rank as the 21st best player in the state of Alabama in 2017, according to ESPN's rankings, with traction from some of the nation's marquee schools, such as LSU, Ole Miss, UCF, Tennessee, USC. It would ultimately be the Knights, where Marlon Williams would go on to take his collegiate talents, or take his talents to the collegiate level, rather, and attend Central Florida. And I think we can both agree that that move was going to prove it proved its dividends in the long.
Yeah, that was the best move for me for sure.
Arrive on campus your freshman year, 2017, you would tabulate or you'd make a contribution right away for the Knights, appearing in all 13 games, nabbing 17 receptions and 270 yards and a touchdown. Flash forward, we'll get into all of it and break it all down later on in the podcast, but kind of giving a brief overview. Senior year, flash forward to your senior season, you would ultimately see a drastic increase in your workload, becoming a favorite
Yeah.
target of then UCF quarterback. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Dylan Gabriel was the quarterback back in 2020,
Yes,
right?
he was. Yes, he was.
Big
He's old now. He's an old guy.
shout out to Dylan Gabriel. Having played in just 8 of the 10 games that season, Williams finished his senior season with a recorded 71 catches for 1,039 yards, 10 touchdowns, alongside his teammate, fellow wide receiver Jalen Robinson. The duo combined for a whopping 2,018 yards that season receiving, that is, which would go on to be the fourth most prolific duo performance in program history. Not to mention, Williams would finish as a semifinalist in the for the Blitnikoff Award. Damn it, I can't talk. And would AAC and receptions and yards in 2020. Flash forward nearly 2 years later, after being drafted in the seventh round of the inaugural USFL draft in 2022, Williams has gone on to establish and cement himself as one of the best wide receivers across the spring football landscape, entering into his third season with the reigning USFL champions, the Birmingham Stallions. He has helped them to win both the 2022 and 2023 championship. Albeit he was obviously you were sidelined last year with an Achilles injury. This season we're looking for a comeback.
Right.
Hey, minor setback, major comeback. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got to get that third one. I wasn't a part of of the game last year, so we definitely got to get back.
Well, I will say this. You're one of the leaders of the team. And that being said, I'm cut this intro. We're gonna get right into shop, man. Find him and follow him at Marlon Williams .6 on Instagram, at the real at underscore at the underscore real six via Twitter. He is the one, the only Marlon Williams. Marlon, happy Thursday. Happy holidays, brother. How you doing?
Man, appreciate you. Happy holidays. I'm doing good, man. Just getting ready for Christmas. Family coming in town tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Love that.
Hmm.
So, I do an icebreaker on this show, and how fitting, right? I threw a graphic out like last week, and it was a graphic of you. I was playing around with some graphic samples, some templates, and I threw that out and caught your attention. I knew I would, and you're like,
Yeah.
hey man, when can I hop on the podcast? I had to do it right away. So.
Nah, for sure. I appreciate you.
I'm glad you wanted to hop on here and talk shop with me, man. And honestly, it was gonna be sooner rather than later, to be honest, because I was like, you're one of the guys that helped to propel the Stallions in 2022. You're one of the most coveted names in the USFL scape. I just had to jump at the opportunity. So thank you very much for being on. But I want to move the conversation over into the icebreaker here. So
Right. Okay.
I gotta ask here. Well, I had an icebreaker. Now I don't have an icebreaker. I was looking for a holiday themed icebreaker, but now I don't really have an icebreaker. Oh, I do have one thing. Okay, we can use this as the icebreaker, and I'll cut this little part out. But so I want to talk about this. The yeah, I coined you, and it's no secret. You're one of the most electrifying players in the USFL and in spring football. But you go down the list of the UCF players, the wide receivers, rather. My gosh, dude, I never realized how much talent was in that
Yeah.
wheelhouse. You, Rashad Perriman, Gabe Davis, Brandon Marshall. I mean,
Hmm.
it's insane how much talent's been produced. When you were coming out from high school into college, did you account for how much talent they produce in that wheelhouse? Surely it had to be atop of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, man, honestly, like when I committed to UCF, I had only really knew about Traquan, and like on my official visit, they told me Brandon Marshall went there and Rashad Perriman. So I was like, man, that's crazy. They also told me about I don't know if you know Mike Walker. He played for the Jaguars for a couple of years.
Okay.
So we had a lot of receivers at UCF. That was my reasoning for coming there. I knew I could play early, and I knew they had a pretty good history of putting receivers in the draft.
And it's funny because I was looking back at your film before I got on here, and I was like, he wore number six. Brandon Marshall wore number six when he was.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know if there is there a parallel there. Did you just choose number six or?
So I wore number six in high school. That was my favorite number. So, I had my first 2 years I had to wear 17 because a senior on the team had number six. So as soon as he left, I got the number that I always wanted. I'm trying to pay Jamar so I can get his number six. He switched his number this year.
Well, you talk about, coming up in high school. Of course, you had attended, oh gosh, it's right here, McGill Tulane, part of the Yellow Jackets program. Talk about
Hmm.
being in that high school. If I'm not mistaken, it's a Catholic school. It's a private school? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's a private school in Alabama.
Okay.
We had a good history of being a really top team in the state. My
Yeah.
junior year, we won football and basketball in the state championship. So I won two in the same year. So we have a good history of being a real good team. From my team, I have three guys that's in the NFL. One Jalen Tolby plays for the Cowboys. Eric Garrett, he plays for the Tennessee Titans, and Ja'Cory Bennett, he also plays for the Raiders. And then another guy on my team, Carlton Marshall, he has the record for the most tackles in college history. He has over 500 tackles.
Gee.
So we all played on the same team. So yeah, we had a pretty good squad. Not to mention a quarterback got drafted in the MLB in the first round. So yeah, we were pretty stacked up,
All
stacked
right.
there.
So everybody gives their pitch when they come on this podcast, and typically I've had
Right.
Florida cats, I've had Texas cats, I've had California cats come on this podcast, upsell me on Alabama's high school football atmosphere, upsell me on the competition that you see on a week to week basis, and
Mhm.
Reigns is one of the top places to play high school football, one of the top states.
I
What's your
mean, man, my thing is, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and for I think for a couple of years we had the most draft picks per capita in the United States. I played against I played against Kadarius Toney, the receiver
Jesus?
for the Chiefs. He's from my city. Neil Farrell, he plays for the Chiefs. He's from my city. Roger McCreary,
Wow.
he's from my city. He plays for the Titans. Like we had a lot of guys, you know. I think it's like, and then the class after me, I think it's five guys from that class that's in the NFL. Man, I'm telling you, it's a lot of talent that comes out of there. Like even when we go like when we go to state into the playoffs, Marcus Jones, the cornerback for the Patriots, I played against him.
Mhm.
Justin Ross, George Pickens, I
Damn.
played against.
It
Yeah, I
doesn't
played against them in high school, so
it doesn't seem like there was a bye week any Friday. It feels like you were playing up against the
yeah,
best every single week. Um,
playing against everybody.
when you talk about, playing in high school, I didn't get to do my research on it, so apologies. What positions were you? Obviously, I'm assuming receiver. But
Uh-huh.
were you seeing time on the defensive side of the ball, running back? Were they kind of plug and play everywhere? Swiss
Mhm.
knife?
Really, I was just on the offense. We were so like, as I mentioned earlier, we were so deep. So like, it was you probably played one position, but on offense, I played quarterback sometimes. Played a little bit of wildcat quarterback. You know, running back sometimes. But
Yeah.
that's how I got 22 touchdowns that year. They used me everywhere on offense that year.
Hey, you still sling the pill?
Oh yeah, yeah. When
Still
we
got
do a little double reverse this year, I'm gonna be the throw guy.
that. I got you. I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No, it's really impressive. You talk about all that talent to come from that wheelhouse. Man, I couldn't even think. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get talent like that at Texas and Florida and California. Obviously, they're gonna be bigger states. But
Right.
you think about obviously you got Alabama and Auburn in your backyard too. It's just like it's wild to me just how much of a wheelhouse it is. Um, so I want to talk about kind of pivot. We'll stick with high school, but kind of towards the end of your high school career, real quick. You talk about, kind of gaining traction towards your senior year. When did the recruiting process kind of start taking shape? When did you start really getting your first offers and taking your
Mhm.
first visits, and then kind of start to see the decisions kind of take place?
Right. So my first offer came after my sophomore year. I think I started varsity for like the last 6 or 7 games, and I ended up being like the leading receiver for those 6 games. So my first offer was from South Alabama. I live 5 minutes away from there, so that was my first offer.
Heck yeah.
Then I got like a little, I got like Southern Miss. I got a couple of schools like that, Troy.
Hmm.
But then, after my junior year of football, I got going into my junior year of football, I went to the camp at USC in Southern California.
Okay.
So I went up there, I balled out. The offensive coordinator at the time, he's not an offensive coordinator for the Ravens. His name's T. Martin.
Okay.
So he's from my city. He grew up in my city. So he watched me my whole junior year of football. Um, I think I made all state that year as a junior, my first year starting. So he came to a basketball practice, and I was just doing every dunk you could think of at practice. So he watched me. So he pulled me out of my basketball practice. He was like, "Man, we're gonna offer you." So they offered me. I think I committed like 3 days later. I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Southern California. Like that's a dream." Um, so when I committed there, I got all the other offers. I got Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri, all NC State, a couple of schools, just to name a few. I was committed to USC the whole year, my whole senior year. Then I would say maybe 3, 4 weeks before signing day, I I decommitted because a lot was going on. It was kind of far. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to go to school that far away.
Yeah.
So a couple college teams started making some pushes for me. And I got an offer from UCF, Coach Frost, Scott Frost. He called me and I knew he was the coach. He had been the offensive coordinator at Oregon for a couple of years. I knew how good their offense was. So like automatically, like that was a number one team in my opinion on my list. So I took my official to Orlando and I fell in love, man. I was like, yeah, I'm going to school here. Like, there's no way I'm not going to school here. So I ended up coming here, and honestly, it was probably the best decision I made, I think, in my opinion.
Well, look, man, it was right on cue because you talk about you arrive in 2017, but the years leading up, I mean, they're developing into they were already kind of established as a
Mm-hmm.
powerhouse, but they really kind of peaked when you got there. Like, if I'm not mistaken, looking back, I think in 2017 was when they had ranked at number seven, if I'm not number six, I want to say, and then they ended
Yeah,
up having
yeah.
that undefeated season. And then of
Mhm.
course, the college football playoff screwed them out of getting into the playoff because of the undefeated
Yeah.
season. You were around that crowd. I guess it was a year before, or was that the year that you had got there?
No, that was the year I got there. So my first year, I went undefeated, won every game. Won. That was crazy for me. I thought I got spoiled. And then the next year, we went undefeated again into the bowl game when we lost to LSU.
Yeah.
And LSU from that point on became the LSU that we know. And we only lost by like 3 or 4 points. So like that like just showed you how good we were. And our quarterback got hurt the week before that. So we had our starting quarterback. We probably would have won that game. But that team was really well. We played against a young Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, all those guys was on that team.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
You talk about and I know the quarterback I think you're referring to is Mackenzie Milton, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. Uh, you look up
Mhm.
the definition of dog in the dictionary, you're gonna see Mackenzie Milton's name probably in there. I'll never forget it, dude. I think it was 2 years ago. I want to say maybe two, yeah, because he had played at Florida State against Notre Dame
Mhm.
on Labor Day. I believe he was the starting quarterback there. That game went to double overtime. To see him, what I'm trying to get to is to see him overcome the injury that put him out for so long, to come back and
Yeah.
have that story to, go play at Florida State and to be able to finish on that note. I mean, he was a top guy for the Heisman for the longest time. Of course, now he's ironically working for Josh Heupel, Tennessee. He's an
Mhm.
analyst, offensive analyst up there for the Volunteers. But that guy had went through so much in his college career, and I feel like we never really got to see what he would formulate into. Obviously, you played with him. You played with him. You played
Man,
with Gabriel. Talk about the dynamic you kind of created and what he brought to the team and what he established with the receivers.
man, McKenzie is probably the best quarterback. Nah, he is the best quarterback I've ever played with. Like the things he would do in the huddle, like he'll come to the huddle, he'll be like, man, we're gonna run two plays. We're gonna run this if they give us this. We're gonna run this if they give us that. We'll get to the line. He'll change it. We score a touchdown. Like he was that guy. Like if he wouldn't have got hurt, he'd probably be. I think he would probably be a starting in the NFL right now. He was that good. Like he was small in stature, but you couldn't really mess with him. Like he literally sliced up everybody. I think he broke almost every record at UCF. And like the game he got hurt, I think he had like 3 touchdowns before the third quarter hit. He had like 3 touchdowns. But he threw for three, scored a touchdown, like ran a touchdown. He was different, man. Like, and for him to overcome that injury and go to Florida State, still be able to go play a little bit, it just showed you his determination. Like, I really believe if he didn't hurt his knee, he would still be playing right now. We talk about it all the time.
What would you, I mean, obviously you always kind of, and I'm just curious, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but like, I guess if you've watched, you're a fan of football, obviously.
Mhm.
If you've watched other football players, what would you compare his play to? I mean, is there anybody that kind of comes to mind? tangibles, intangibles wise for Milton?
Literally a more mobile tool with
Wow.
right hand. Like I wouldn't even like I wouldn't say he wasn't a quarterback that wanted to run, but when he ran, he was gonna get out of there. He was tough. He know how to make you miss. Like and throwing the ball wise, if you go watch his highlights, every pass he threw was in your hands. Like it was rare that it wasn't in your hands. I
Mm.
think I think he maybe threw like in 2018 and 2017. I think he maybe threw like 6 or 7 picks, something like that.
Jeez.
And we average like the number one offense scoring. I think we were top five in 2018.
Yeah.
So he was the real deal, man. I don't know, it was just some stuff he did. You couldn't replace it. Like when he got hurt, we realized like what we were missing immediately.
Well, not only McKenzie there, but you think about the offensive weaponry that you had when you first arrived. Guys like Gabe Davis, Traquan Smith had already been there, I believe. I think
Mhm.
2017 would have been Gabe and Traquan's last
Yeah,
year, right?
me and Gabe came in together. Traquan, that was his last year. Him and Jordan Akins. Jordan Akins plays for the.
I'd like to consider myself a sports memorabilia connoisseur. I mean, if you watch the podcast on YouTube, you look behind me, you see I got all the Broncos memorabilia, the Baker Mayfield jersey. It's a little bit disorganized, but don't hold it against me. Nevertheless, I just have a deep appreciation for memorabilia because I feel that each piece tells a tremendous story and conveys a lot about a team's history. But when I arrived at the USFL last season, contributing as one of their on site social media producers, I was quickly introduced firsthand to one of the leading clothing brands, not only within the USFL, but in leagues such as the Canadian Football League, the Arena Football League, Minor League Baseball, National Basketball Association, and those are just to name a few. This brand has propelled themselves and cemented themselves as the leaders in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to share that Strive Sports Podcast, Strive Sports Productions, has teamed up with the leader in USFL merchandise, Royal Retros. From hats and jerseys to t-shirts and replica football helmets, they've got everything. Royal Retros has become a pioneer in paying homage to classic sports teams. And whether you are a fan of basketball, baseball, football, or even hockey, Royal Retros has something for everyone. As a matter of fact, with the holiday season just right around the corner, get ahead on your shopping list right now and head on over to their website. As a matter of fact, get your phone out and you can scan the bottom left QR code located in the bottom left corner of the screen, and it'll prompt you and take you over to the Royal Retros website. Once there, feel free to peruse the site. They've got everything: basketball, baseball, hockey, football. Like I said, one of the best, if not the best, in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia. And once you're at checkout, go ahead and use promo code STRIVE. That's promo code STRIVE, STRIVE. Save yourself 10% on your next purchase with them. A great way to support the leaders in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia, and a great way to support the show. Big shout out to Royal Retros for partnering with us and allowing us to join them on this opportunity.
Right now, he's a tight end. So it was
Gotcha.
those two. We had Adrian Killings. We
Oh
had
my God, dude.
yeah.
Killens is one of my favorite. I'm gonna be honest with you. Killens, if you're watching this, bro, come on the show, dude. I watch your film. I swear, I watch your film. I just watched your film. One of the best return men I have ever watched in the game. Honestly, honest to God,
Yeah.
it just
He
never
should
got
be
a shot, man.
he should be playing in the NFL. Like he's
Hmm.
like the first workout we ever had, I think he's one of the fastest guys I've ever seen run. And like it was like I don't think he ran full speed. He would win reps, and he was, and I could tell he wasn't running at full speed. He has amazing speed,
Rumor has
amazing speed.
rumor has it this guy can run a 4.2. You think that's true?
I believe so. I think his year he left was COVID year, so you know what it wasn't no pro day, no combine. I honestly think if he would have ran, he probably run a 4.2,
Well,
4.2, 4.3.
Well, I want to kind of get right back on track with the receivers. Sorry, I had to go down a rabbit hole there because there's
Now
so.
you good, you good.
But circling back to the receivers, were they when you first got on campus, were they, embracive of you and what was the camaraderie like between you and the older receivers when you first got to UCF? And how did that brotherhood cultivate?
So when I first got there, the year before that they weren't that good. I think they had won 6 games that year before. So on my official, I remember the receiver coach telling me like, "Hey, you coming in? We want you to play." Like, you know how good of a player you are. He was talking about me and Gabe. He would talk about me and Gabe the whole official. He was like, "Man, y'all two, y'all gonna come in, y'all gonna play. So I need y'all to be ready to play. I need y'all to get in the playbook." So when we got here, Trey Cohen was the leader. We followed him, but and we had another guy named Snelson, Dredrick Snelson. He was our slot receiver. He was a really good receiver. So, we came in, we really took heed to Traquan because he didn't really say too much, but every day he showed up, nobody could guard him. So we really watch him. Honestly, like you said, I played every game. So I played every game and I played a lot of snaps. I played more snaps than the guys who were older than me. Besides, only guy who played more than me was Gabe.
Hmm.
And you see what he's doing.
Yeah.
So that I can't really complain. He's balling in the league right now. But honestly, the camaraderie in that room from my freshman year to my senior year, we were already the closest group. I
Mhm.
think we were probably the best group every year, if I'm not mistaken. Overall, I think we were the best year. Like my last year, we had you mentioned Jalen Robinson. We also had Trey Nixon. He got drafted. Jacob Harris, he got drafted. He's playing in the league right now. So we had a lot of guys that year, man.
So you talk about Scott Frost was the one that recruited you to UCF. Um, and somewhere along the line, so you got there in 2017. Frost was there for how long? Correct me. What was
He was there for he had been there the year before, and my his second year there, he left, which was my first year. So after we won, he put us in a won a conference championship. He put us in there. He was like, "Yeah, man." He couldn't even really talk to us. He was so upset. But he was like, "Man, we're leaving. We're gonna," and he still coaches in the bowl game that year, and that said a lot about how much he loved him because when coaches get a new job, they're gone. They're not gonna stick around. He coaches that year, helped us win that game, finish that season out, but yeah, he left after that first year of me being there. If the transfer portal was open then,
you would
I
have
would
done?
probably would have I probably would have left and I would have been at Nebraska with him. And
Hey,
I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't leave because they were terrible.
well, right on cue, you bring in a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, comes from my alma mater a year earlier. He was at the University of Missouri. He was the offensive coordinator, Josh Heupel.
Yes, he was.
He becomes the head coach at UCF. What were your first impressions of Coach Heupel when he first arrived to UCF? And oh boy, we got a story here. Talk to him,
the
Marlon.
honest, the honest truth, the guys on the team, we were like, you got to think, Coach Frost was like the perfect coach. Like everybody know, like if you ask anybody from that year, everybody loved him. So like we were kind of upset that he left. So it wasn't nothing really Coach Heupel did wrong. It's just that we were mad. So the first meeting we got there, it really was like an awkward meeting because we were like, who is this guy? Like, you know, we got to learn a new coach. We don't know how he is. He's gonna be, but ended up being a good situation. He was different than Frost in a lot of ways, but we still won games. Everybody's coaching staff. I mean, everybody coaching style can't be the way that Coach Frost was. He was a real players coach. Like some days he'll come in because he'd be like during the summer. You work out. You supposed to work out 5 days a week. He'll wake up on a Friday and be like, "Y'all good? Y'all go home. Like y'all worked hard enough this week." Like he was a great coach. Like I think we were spoiled our freshman year. Like some days we're supposed to have full padded practice. He'll be like, y'all just wear helmets today. Y'all okay. So it was a culture shock at first, but everybody started to adapt to hypo and it worked out. He had a pretty good run at UCF.
Well, did you see like as far as the how different was the language in terms of adapting to Heupel's
Mm-hmm.
playbook comparatively to Scott Frost? Was it complex or was it pretty, cut and dry? I mean, which one kind of boded better for you personally as a player?
Uh, um, so Frost's playbook was way more complex. But you got to think he was at Oregon and they ran so many different formations with plays. They would have five. They would have a play, and you can run it four different ways in like three or four different formations. So like you have to learn all those things. So that was really tough. And with Heupel, he had a great playbook, but it was less complex. I would say my freshman year, the offense fit me because of how my body type was. I was more of a he used me more of as like a H back type of receiver.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, it was Frost. But when Hypo came in and we started working out different and my body started to change, Hypo's offense was pretty beneficial to me. I literally finished as a Blendikoff
Yeah.
semifinally. So that says a lot. Like I played 8 games. Really, I played 7.5 because one game I like the last 2 games I had a broken foot. So I played like a had game and a half and had 1,000 yards. So if I would have played 12, the normal I probably would have had 1,600 yards that year. For a
Well,
long time, for the first 6 or 7 games. No, for like the first 5 or 6 games, me and Devontae Smith were head and head, like week to week. So
if
I don't know. It was really whichever offense you want to choose, honestly.
so fun fact here, I don't know if you've read this before. I think you were one of four receivers in the 2021 draft class to have recorded over 1,100 receiving yards, and you joined company of Devontae Smith,
Mhm.
Arkansas State's Jonathan Adams, shout out Jay.
Yep, yep.
Um,
Jay Adams,
and then there was one more, and I can't remember.
Jalen Darden.
Darden from North Texas. You're right. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you read that stat. Never mind. Didn't have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
No,
Nah, those guys were some dogs, especially Jay Adams. He plays in our league.
yeah.
He's a dog. He should be in the league right now. Uh, you know how that goes. But yeah, that season was really special. Like I think by week 5, I had like 700 yards or something like that. Like it
It-
was some crazy. It was
so
it
so
was it was a great season.
when you first met, so Gabriel arrives on campus in 2019. Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Um, how did that relationship kind of cultivate, and how did that?
Hmm.
What was the switch over like from McKenzie to Dylan? Was there any sort of difference that? Yeah, I mean, obviously quarterbacks are going to vary, going to be different in their styles, but
Hmm.
what were the differences that they kind of carried between each other?
So McKenzie was more. You got to think. Well, when Dylan got there, he was a young guy. He was like 17 when he enrolled.
Mm,
So he was very immature. He was a really good player, but like he wasn't as mature as McKenzie. So we were used to having McKenzie a way more mature player at the time. So a lot of things worked more smoothly. We kind of like followed McKenzie more, and
mm.
like with Dylan, he was our quarterback. Like we were older than him, so like it was kind of hard to follow suit a little bit. But it wasn't a knock on his play. He was a great player, but like he had to learn those things the older he got, and that's why I think he's such a great leader now because he had to go through us
That's awesome.
to learn how to become a leader. Um, his playing style was he was really he was a gunslinger, but he was young, so he made young decisions. But
Mhm.
like at first, we didn't really have a we didn't really have a tight relationship, I would say, because I didn't really start playing till week. I was playing every game in 2019, but I wasn't in the offense. I wasn't featured in the offense for like the first 5 games. I think the first 5 games I had 200 yards and then the last seven, no, the first 7 games I only had 200 yards. The last 5 games of the year, I ended up finishing up with 780 yards, 7 touchdowns. Something happened. I started getting more playing time. We started building a little bond.
Man.
We got to the yeah. It was rocky at first, but we started to connect. I would say halfway during my junior year.
Was that that 2019 year into 2020? Did you guys end up going into, well, first so they won the AAC back in 2017, I want to say.
17 and 18. Yep.
Yeah, they repeated. And then
Hmm.
2018 they finished 12-1. They lost to that LSU team, which honestly they shouldn't have lost that game, but I digress.
Yeah,
But
we shouldn't have.
you go into 2019. Did you guys end up winning the AAC in 2019?
No, we didn't. We should have. I think we lost three. No, we lost either 2 or 3 games that year.
Mhm.
We lost, and we we lost by a combined of 7 points.
Between all three?
Between all 3 games, we lost a combined 7 points. We lost Tulsa by 2 points. We lost to we lost to Pitt by 2 points, and then we lost to I said
Yeah.
Tulsa, Pitt, and we lost to dang, who else did we play that year? Cincinnati by 3 points.
Natty. Okay.
Yeah, we lost to Cincinnati by 3 points. Literally, like every game we lost that year, we should have won.
Mm.
I think that was a year that we really let slip through our hands, but that was a lot to do with, team chemistry. Like I said, Dylan was young, so like the mistakes he made in those games, he didn't make a lot of mistakes, but he made the mistake at the wrong time. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and it wasn't always his fault that he made that mistake. You know how it goes. Sometimes coaches put you in positions you're not supposed to be in.
Mhm.
You practice stuff all week. You get to the game. Sometimes it don't go the way it was supposed to go. So,
Right.
we came back the next year. And COVID really messed us up with that year because we didn't know we were gonna play some games. Some games we did. It was just a weird season. COVID was probably the worst thing that ever happened that year.
So pivoting, and I got one more question about your career. Then we're going to kind of talk about this reallocation of colleges and whatnot, UCF moving
Mhm.
conferences and everything. But to play in 2020, mind you, you're the first person on this podcast I think that played in the year 2020, which is a year that everybody wants to forget. But obviously,
I know, right?
you from a career standpoint, that was like that's a very memorable year, but for a lot of other reasons, you're playing during a pandemic, man. What's that atmosphere and environment like as a player? And was it kind of uncomfortable in the off season? Was it weird? What were the vibes?
Man, it was very weird. Like I think we had went. Everybody had got sent home from school for like 3 months, maybe. I
Yep.
think we were gone for like 3 months. I think everybody was, and we got back to school in June, maybe mid-June.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything for like until mid-July because they didn't know we were going to play in the games. They were like, we were not going to play in the games. Then they came back and they were like, oh, you're only going to play your conference games. So then that season was shortened, camp was shortened. Uh, it was just weird. No fans. That was a weird season. I mean, it was still football, but like with only people that was there was our family members. So it was like we playing park ball again.
And I was watching some of the press conferences from UCF's the 2020 year, and I'm just like watching you awkwardly talk to a Zoom call, and I'm just like, that's gotta suck. Just
Yeah, I know. Talking to Zoom. Yeah, we did all our interviews on Zoom. Like that was so man. Oh my god, that season was so weird. I wish that wouldn't have happened. That was a crazy season. I don't know. That's why you have people who are older than me still in college.
hey man, you and me both. You and me both.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
it's wild.
Crazy.
No, I couldn't fathom what that off season like, you're probably still the only ones on campus or somehow having to stay on campus to kind of prepare yourselves and get ready for this.
Mhm.
And you guys, it's like a freaking ghost town. You guys are the only ones there, very limited on what you could do. So you probably got to be bored out of your freaking mind. So
What?
yeah.
Oh man, that was so weird. We did all our classes online, tutoring was online, I think.
Oh,
It was it was a crazy year. It was crazy.
hey,
Only people you see were I mean not fans, were other student athletes. It was a wild year.
between you and me and the rest of the people that listen to this podcast, thank you, 2020, because guess what? You're the reason my GPA got saved. So the send home
Yeah.
was the greatest thing for my GPA. But
You was
other
out there, you was up there partying, huh? You was going crazy out there.
no, not even that. Just trying to redeem myself academically.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I understand that.
pivoting. So we talk about this conference reallocation, man, and you think about especially conferences like the American Athletic Conference. You think about the schools within there, Conference USA. Some of these smaller conferences are getting an opportunity to send schools that really should be in a much bigger spectrum, in a much bigger scale, getting them an opportunity to move on up. And for UCF, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of the teams to have joined the Big 12 this past year. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they were. Yep, yep. I think this was their first year.
Hmm.
They didn't really meet the expectations that they probably wanted.
Hmm.
But sometimes that happen. Move that when you're moving up, you have to get the roster to compete. And I think they got either the number one or the number two class in the Big 12 this year. So
Big.
we probably won't be down too long. So
Well, going forward, and obviously NIL is at play. Everybody, I mean, if you don't got the bag, you don't have a roster. So, I mean,
yeah.
at this point, you might as well install cap space into colleges because that's how competitive it's got. But when you look at UCF going up against this much packed Big 12. What as an alum, what are your thoughts going forward for them? And what are your expectations as a fan of the program and as an alum of the program? What do you think's
I
gonna
mean, I think, this season coming up, I think last year we won. I mean, this year we've won 6 games. I think they're 6-6 right now. I think if they win the next one, they have a bowl game this Saturday in Tampa. They'll go 7-6. So next year I expect us to go about 10-3 on the low end. I feel like if they like the games they lost this year, they lost about like 2 points, 3 points. It was one game they got blew out, but most of the games they lost, it was less than a touchdown. So we were a couple players from being really good. So I think this recruiting class that they just signed, I think they're going to be really good. They just got a quarterback. He reclassed. He was supposed to come to school in 2025. He reclassed up, so he's gonna be their quarterback this year. I feel like that they should do way
Mhm.
better than last year. And honestly, in the next couple of years, I'm telling you, they'll probably be in the playoffs.
College
I
football
think that.
expanding to 12, man. You think,
Yeah, yeah. So it won't be that hard. We get to play Coach Prime this year, so we'll see how that goes.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that'll be fun. All right. So I can't thank you enough for being on the show. I got a couple more questions for you, and I'm gonna send you home free, brother. This is the shortest episode I've ever recorded, by the way. To let you know that.
Short and sweet, man.
Short and sweet to the point, you know? Uh,
Yep.
Pivoting over to the USFL, obviously you've seen a tremendous amount of success with the Birmingham Stallions. I was lucky enough to witness it firsthand, and unfortunately, I never got to witness, you play for an extensive period on the field. God had other plans for you. Obviously, you sustained an Achilles injury in 2023, but I want to kind of go back to 2022 and kind of where it all started. You're selected in the seventh round of the USFL. I want to start with first and foremost, how did the USFL come about, and did you really take it seriously at first whenever the idea was being tossed around? What were your thoughts on it?
So I had originally signed with the Texans in 2021.
Yep.
But when I went up there, my foot was still broken from the season. So, I couldn't pass a physical. So I had to, had to rehab, I had like 10 workouts. But every workout I went to, they were like, man, my foot was still broken. So I couldn't pass the physical. So went through the whole 2021 NFL season, didn't get signed. I think the USFL idea came about maybe like they started talking about it like January, maybe
Hmm.
December or January around that time.
Yeah.
So my agent was like, man, just put your name in it. Uh, put my name in and got a couple calls. They was going to say I was in a draft pool, and then basically they were saying like, yeah, you're going to get drafted. You're one of the best players in there. Names was in there. So I went the first draft, didn't get drafted. I was like, that's kind of crazy, kind of wild. So then they had the supplemental draft. Like I think 2 weeks later, I got a call from Coach Jones, and he was like, "Man, can't wait to have you ready for you to be up there." At first, I didn't really know what to expect because with spring leagues, they
Yeah.
didn't really have a good rep behind it, good name behind it. But with this, it it felt different when we got there, and you know, I took it seriously because I was trying to get back to where I needed to be and where I belong. Um, and it showed. I mean, I balled out the first year. I was with we were together for like 3 weeks before the first game, and I think if we would have had a little bit more time, that season probably would have been even better. It's kind of rushed. We only got 3 to 4 weeks to get ready for a game.
Yeah.
But it was a really good experience that first year. I loved it. I mean, that's why I came back last year and I'm back again. I mean, you get paid to play football, man. At the end of the day, you get paid to play a child game.
Exactly, man. No, and look, you guys, I don't know how Birmingham does it. I don't know what they're doing, but they need
Yeah.
to bring back the same artillery and it's the same electrifying receiving core that they've had. It's almost like,
Mhm.
oh well, I mean they were stacked on depth in 2023, and it's like I don't think this could get much better. Well, now it's gonna about
Mhm.
to get even better. So it's just like it's crazy to me. Is this one of the most competitive receiving cores that you've kind of ever been around? I mean, these rooms that they're stacking in spring league for what it is, for what it's worth, this is they're pretty talented rooms, man.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, I think that's probably last year was probably one of the most stacked receiving rooms I've ever played in. Like before I got hurt, it was me, Davion. You can put Jason there as a receiver, even though he's a tight end. Petway, Mitch, Austin. Who else am I missing? We had Adrian Hardy. We had a lot of guys last year. Like we were really stacked. And then this year we probably will be even better. Honestly, we probably with the how they're gonna do this new draft or whatever, we're gonna probably get some more guys that's really good. So I don't know, man. Zach's doing a great job of what he's doing. So he knows how to go find those guys.
Real fast. You talk about the quarterback dynamic. Obviously, Jamar Smith and
Baldy.
last year, last year it was obviously Jamar was sidelined in 2023 with his thumb injury, and you had Alex Magoo step up to the plate. But Alex was also a part of the picture in 2022. But Jamar is the leader going into 2024. Jamar, I feel like a lot of eyes are on him and
Mhm.
the people around him. Uh, I'm ready to see Jamar's return, honestly, because I saw how he conducted himself, how he composed himself for the first time in person down there, and dude, he's a true leader. Like he is a true leader. It's amazing. He'd be walking through just dapping up everybody that's kind of a part of the
Yeah.
staff, and just it's amazing to see, and he really commands a room. But I'm ready to see him back on the field again. Talk about how you kind of established your dynamic with Jamar
Hmm.
and how that friendship is kind of cultivated over the past couple of years, and what 2023's that 2024's outlook is going to be like.
Yeah, man. Me and Jamar, I think like the first after the first practice, I think we were watching film and we had kind of like bonded over something immediately. And he was like, "Man, after our meetings, bro, let's go get some eat. Let's go get some food or something like that. We went to go eat, and from that day on, I think we hung out every day. And before, like he bought in 2022. Three, he was poised to ball out two until he broke his finger. I think he was like 15 for 17 or something crazy like that. First play of the game, he threw a touchdown for 70 yards. So
Shit,
like he was ready to ball last year, and I know this year going into this year he's going to attack it. He's been working out nonstop, so I know we'll do fine this coming up year. It's gonna be the same thing. Alex stepped in. He had a great, amazing season, but I know Jamar wants to experience that success. So I know it's gonna come. He's a hard worker. It's gonna work out for him.
for sure. Uh, Real quick, expectation going up against some XFL teams this season. What do you think about the merger and where it sits right now?
I'm glad we get to play some new teams this year. They got some talent on that side. I still think the USFL side is better, of course. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully in the next couple of days we get the final details. But
Hell yeah.
you know, of course they think they're the best side, but we'll see. We'll see the first week or whenever we play them. We'll see if they really that good.
Marlon, I love it, man. I love the energy you bring. I love it. I'm excited to see you back in 2024. I'm happy you can sit down and talk with me, man. Talk some shop. It's always great to catch up with some friends and colleagues of the league and everything, and to be able to check in with you and see how you're doing, man. I'm happy to see you and happy to cut it up with you this evening.
Man, I appreciate you for having me, Keegan. Was bored, don't be doing nothing. So you brought some excitement to my life for a little minute.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate your time. Sorry I kept you for so long, but you've been listening to the final episode of the Strive Sports Podcast. Season number 1 has come to a conclusion. Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a safe and happy holiday. Thank you. See you.